Something Childish but Very Natural is a short story by Katherine Mansfield. Following the modernist format, this short story is episodic, depicting transitions in the characters' emotional states. Something Childish but Very Natural is from the third-person anonymous narrator that focuses on Henry's perspective, depicting him as a sexually attractive figure to a young impressionable girl named Edna. Mansfield borrows the title of this short story from a poem titled Something Childish but Very Natural by Samuel Taylor Coleridge. At the start of the story, the protagonist, Henry, recites this poem, perhaps foreshadowing the nature of his relationship with Edna by the end of the tale. Henry yearns for love, commitment, and a partner. Yet, Edna, though in love with him, is reserved and hesitant to be physically intimate with him. This suggests a fear of Henry of being lonely and waking all alone. Working a stuffy office job, Henry desires freedom, escape, and flying away from restrictions. Belonging to the upper middle class of society, 17-year-old Henry and 16-year-old Edna meet on a train and quickly fall in love, but their connection takes an unusual turn. Despite their quick emotional attachment, Edna resists any physical involvement with Henry. There are several potential reasons for this. Edna might be trying to shield herself from the vulnerability that comes with falling in love. She may fear the commitment that comes with such deep emotions. Also, Edna seems to want to preserve the purity of her relationship with Henry, perhaps driven by an idealistic and somewhat unrealistic view of love. Her hesitation may also stem from her innocence, naivety, and unfamiliarity with the complications of adult sexual relationships. While Edna enjoys the fantasy of being with and living with Henry, she struggles with the idea of committing to a real-life relationship. The shift from childhood to adolescence appears challenging for her, and the conflict within herself becomes apparent when it comes to expressing love physically. Henry, however, is more comfortable with the physical aspect of the relationship but respects Edna's decision to abstain, though having a scorching desire to touch her. Despite the uncertainty and apprehensions, Henry remains attached to Edna. The story ends with Mansfield leaving the reader in suspense about the stance of Edna regarding her relationship with Henry. The speculation arises from the possibility that Edna, through a telegram to Henry, has decided against continuing the relationship due to her fear of commitment or perhaps decided to leap into the romance. Throughout the short story, Henry consistently accepts and understands Edna's stance, displaying commitment to their relationship and his persisting desire to be physically intimate with her despite her repeated hints of reservations. Henry declares that, "Just look at you and me. Here we are. That's all there is to be said. I know about you and you know about me, we've just found each other, quite simply, just by being natural. That's all life is, something childish and very natural. Isn't it?" To which Edna replied, "Yes, yes," she said eagerly. "That's what I've always thought." Here Henry seems to be hinting at how it was fate to meet and fall in love with each other and how spring played as mediator who brought them together on a day like this. Also, the declaration explores the simplicity and naturalness of their connection. The characters acknowledge the mutual understanding they share, emphasizing the idea that finding each other is a result of being true to themselves. Edna's tone is optimistic, portraying life as something inherently childlike and uncomplicated, reflecting a romanticized and idealistic view of the simplicity of human connections. Later Henry asserts, "Then you're just like me," said Henry. The wonder of that was so great that he almost wanted to cry. Instead he said very solemnly, "I believe we're the only two people alive who think as we do. In fact, I'm sure of it. Nobody understands me. I feel as though I were living in a world of strange beings, do you?" To which Edna agrees that always. This dives into the emotional depth of the characters' connection. Henry expresses a profound sense of wonder and relief upon realizing that Edna shares his unique perspective on life. The notion that they are the only two people who think this way adds an element of exclusivity and reinforces the idea of their exceptional bond. The use of the phrase "living in a world of strange beings" suggests a feeling of isolation and alienation from the broader society. The shared sentiment of love between Henry and Edna creates a strong sense of intimacy and understanding. Edna's simple acknowledgement, "always," reinforces the enduring nature of their shared perspective and the comfort it brings to both characters, highlighting the idea of finding rare understanding and connection in a seemingly incomprehensible world. In Something Childish but Very Natural, spring represents the season of love and passion. In the short story, Henry says to Edna that, the most thrilling day of the year, the first real day of spring had unclosed its warm delicious beauty even to London eyes. It had put a spangle in every color and a new tone in every voice. And city folks walked as though they carried real live bodies under their clothes with real live hearts pumping the stiff blood through. Mansfield captures the vibrant and invigorating atmosphere of the first day of spring in London. Mansfield uses vivid imagery to convey the transformative effect of the season on the city and its inhabitants. The description of people walking as though they carry real live bodies emphasizes the rejuvenating power of nature and how love blossomed in spring, revitalizing people. Trains are symbolically connected to fate and determinism in something childish but very natural, as Henry and Edna believe that they are met by the predestined and inescapable influence of fate. Trains, often following predetermined tracks and schedules, become metaphors and the physical setting for Henry and Edna's journey of meeting and falling in love. The vivid description of the train journey: the train had flung behind the roofs and chimneys. They were swinging into the country, past little black woods and fading fields and pools of water shining under an apricot evening sky. Henry's heart began to thump and beat to the beat of the train. He couldn't leave it like that. The movement from the cityscape to the countryside represents a transition, mirroring potential shifts in Edna and Henry's emotional states and the phases of falling in love. The visual imagery of little black woods and fading fields suggests a journey into the unknown and in the story's context, the unknown outcome of the young lovers' relationship and commitment dilemma. The synchronization of Henry's heartbeat with the train's rhythm adds an emotional layer, indicating heightened anticipation or excitement. The train journey's description ends with a sense of unresolved tension as Henry feels compelled to address his infatuation for Edna and his need to physically touch her. The description that the train slowed down and the lights outside grew brighter introduces a change in the train's speed and the increasing brightness of the external lights. The slowing down of the train may symbolize a moment of reflection, allowing the characters to contemplate their surroundings or make decisions. The growing brightness outside could signify clarity or illumination and the realization of a budding attraction between Henry and Edna.